All right, Larry Krueger here at Levi Stadium from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er recap of day 2 of training camp on this Thursday. All right, first of all, a couple things. Trent Williams continues to hold out, so he was not here today. Brandon Ayuk continues to hold in, so he was here but not practicing today. There was no Isaac Guerendo. He continues to miss after yesterday suffering the hamstring injury. The 49ers also made an addition to their roster, signing Malik Turner, a 28-year-old wide receiver, to the roster, and putting Trent Williams on a list now that he is not reported. So Williams is no longer on the active roster, and Malik Turner was added to the roster to take his spot. A couple things today. Ricky Pearsall continued to sit out with the hamstring injury. He worked out on a side field. There was no Ayuk. There was no Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. He sat out today as well. We talked to Nick Sorensen after practice, and he talked about how he's got great depth at corner in this camp. The Niners have about 8 corners, and Darrell Luter made a beautiful interception today at practice. So yesterday, the beautiful interception was Malik Mustafa. Today, it was Darrell Luter Jr. And there's no question that Luter is just one of several good corners now in this camp. You've got Yadam, Womack, Luter, Ambry Thomas, and of course, your starters. And you brought in Yadam from the Saints, and you've obviously got Mooney Ward and Lenore, so they're pretty fortified at corner for sure. I asked Nick Sorensen what he thought of Shaquille Brown and Evan Anderson, and he said, yeah, those guys are awesome, and he really likes what he sees. Now, I thought Anderson looked like maybe he was a little too heavy, but then watching him go through the drills, I mean, this guy can really move at whatever weight he's at. So I would say he looks like he's about 340, 350, but he's moving really, really well. And then Shaquille Brown has just got such a powerful lower body, and he's very explosive. I'm really eager to see what those guys do in the preseason, because in some of these drills, they show some overwhelming traits. Brown's got this overwhelming explosiveness to him. Anderson's got this overwhelming strength but quickness at whatever size he's at. I mean, someone said he was at 315. He doesn't look 315. I would say he looks more like 360. But at the same time, he moves incredibly well. So that was really great to see. It was great to see Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins moving around with this first-team Niner D-line. That really jumped out at me in watching practice today. As I said, Ayuk was here but didn't practice. He walked from the sidelines with John Lynch. Malik Mustafa made another near interception. Great PBU. Mustafa looks really, really good. Another guy who looks great is Jacob Cowing. Jacob Cowing made several moves, several catches. He had one catch that was absolutely fantastic. Another guy was Braden Willis. Braden Willis made one catch down the field that was really, really impressive. So Cowing's making plays. Braden Willis has made some plays. Some of those young players are starting to really show themselves. Oh, one note, Bill Barnwell had an interesting article today. He's estimating that he thinks Brock Purdy, when Brock Purdy eventually gets his big contract, that it's going to be $65 million a year, that Brock's going to get a 5-year, $325 million contract. Wouldn't that be something? So that was some of the scuttle today, is that Brock may wind up getting $65 million. If you think about it, there'll never be a bigger raise than what Brock Purdy goes from as being the last pick in the draft to being paid, the most of any quarterback in pro football. If indeed he gets 65 a year after making $900,000, I mean, there's a reason the 49ers are nervous about their cap and are holding steady with not wanting to pay Brandon Ayuk. It's because they've got to pay that guy, that quarterback, huge money. A couple other notes. John Feliciano today at practice, played all three spots. He played center, he played left guard, he played right guard. So I thought that was interesting. Brandon Allen seemed like he got more of the second team reps at quarterback over Josh Dobbs. That was just my sense of it. I wasn't counting, but it just seemed like Allen got a few more reps than Dobbs. If there's one area where it's really clear the Niners are stacked, it's on the corner, because, just looking at what they have right now, I mean, Mooney Ward wants a new contract. Lenore is getting nothing but better. They brought in Yadam after a tremendous year with the Saints. So those are probably your top three guys. But then you still have Ambry Thomas, who's absolutely in the prime of his career. And you have Darrell Luter, who looks like he's primed for his breakout year. Then you have Samuel Womack, and Womack was just, I watched Womack several times, and his coverage just blanketed the opponent. And then you have Rock Ya-Sin, and Rock Ya-Sin is a very good NFL corner, and his coverage today was incredibly tight. So I mean, and there's more depth behind those guys. So, I mean, you're looking at a camp where, without injury, you probably have 8 good NFL caliber corners. That's a lot. That's a lot of depth. So I'm sure that's something that Sorensen and Staley are really, really excited about. That they just have tremendous depth at a position. Cornerback in the NFL is kind of like starting pitching in baseball. You can never have enough. And yet the Niners do have so many corners in this camp, 8 deep, and it's really good to see. A couple of things also. Trent Taylor had a beautiful diving catch of a ball in the middle of the field. It was a low ball. I think came from Brandon Allen, and Taylor made a diving catch in the middle of the field. Another guy who's really, really looking good is Yetur Gross-Matos. Yetur Gross-Matos, came out of Penn State a few years ago as the physical prototype, 6'5", 270, pretty ripped, and just had no idea how to play at all. And I don't think people realize it because, there's such an emphasis put on your workouts and your 40 time and, your 3-cone drill and this and that. But defensive line in the NFL is one of the most technique-rich positions in the entire sport. And you got to learn the techniques. And Yetur Gross-Matos is now in a far different spot than he was when he came into the NFL out of Penn State. He was an incredibly raw, ball of clay. He's now emerging as a much more efficient mover with better footwork, better hand usage, better knowledge of defensive football. He just looks like a much improved player from the player that I remember in college. And he, another guy that kind of impressed me today was Jordan Elliott. You're talking about 310 pounds with really, really quick feet. And I think Jordan Elliott has an ability to maybe help this team rushing the passer this year. So those were just a couple things that stood out. Malik Collins moving well. Leonard Floyd's moving well on that defensive line. But Yetur Gross-Matos is the guy that kind of, I would say, of this group, surprised me as far as he looks polished. He looks like he's ready to play a significant role on this 49er defensive line. All right, there it is, the recap from day 2 of training camp. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Check them out. They're in Corte Madera and Emeryville. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go get some brisket chili, and tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And also thanks to Sharp Corners, sports cards, and collectibles along the Monterey Peninsula for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show. Live from Santa Clara, 49er training camp. Hope you enjoy it and support us going forward. And once again, thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.